If you've ever had concerns about Social Security disability issues, then you're not alone. It's a tough topic. That's why tonight's WVUA Law Call is all about Social Security disability. If you've got questions, then our attorneys are here for you. All you have to do is pick up that phone, give us a call. Our number is 205-348-WVUA, 205-348-9882. Also, you can email us. Our email address is lawcall@wvua7.com. So send us your question for tonight's WVUA Law Call. Tonight's Law Call is on the way, but now more WVUA news at 6.
This is WVUA Law Call.
It's a pretty scary thought to be too hurt to work. You may have bills that are piling up, a family that you just don't have the means to take care of. It's a scary thought. And if you have been too hurt to work, you might be wondering if you qualify for Social Security disability. Well, that is what tonight's WVUA Law Call is all about. If you have questions about Social Security disability, maybe those questions apply to you, someone you know, or maybe you just have questions about a situation you might be in one day. If that's the case, pick up that phone, give us a call. Our number is 205-348-WVUA, 205-348-9882. Also, if you don't want to call in that question, you can email us just the same. Our email address is lawcall@wvua7.com. But don't wait. Go ahead and get those calls and emails in, because this is a complex topic and our attorneys are here for you to answer those questions about Social Security disability. So we're going to give you a moment to get those calls in and those emails while we let you know what's coming up here in the next few weeks on WVUA Law Call. Next week is August 28th. That is Crime and Punishment. We are taking on criminal law next week, a very interesting show. Then the first week of September, September 4th, here's a question: can my boss do that? We're talking all about employment law. And then on September 11th, traffic accidents. Traffic accidents is something that you know all too much about.
Well, I do, but I'm very interested in that last show you mentioned. I'm anxious to see what the calls are going to be and some of the legal issues that come up.
I think so. All of those calls and questions are always good. By the way, this is not Bob Prince. You've probably noticed that. This is Matt Glover, who is often here with us hosting the show. And Matt, first of all, glad to have you here tonight.
You know, Terry, thank you. This is the second time this has happened to me. I was coming out of church the other day, and this lady comes up to me and she says, "I just absolutely love that law call." And for a second there, I thought she was talking about me. And before I could even say anything, she said, "I just love that Terri Brewer. She is so great." And so, Terry, we really are glad that you're here and that you're doing this.
Thank you, Matt. That makes me feel good.
We're always bragging about our guests, but we never take time to brag about our hosts.
I really appreciate that. See, we've started the show off right.
Sure.
You know how to do this. We may have to have you back again.
I'll be back.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. And, you know, we are glad to have you here tonight. And this is a topic, just going through my notes for this show, it is so complex and so scary for someone, especially somebody who is too hurt to make an income.
Well, you know, we see folks who are injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks and explosions, and one of the first things that we realize is that, look, we can handle that portion of the case, but there's really another legal issue that you're going to have to tackle, and that is this disability and can you collect money from your Social Security payments that you've been making to the government all these years. And we send folks to people like our guest tonight who are experts in that area.
All right. Well, listen, why don't you go ahead and introduce us to our guest, Matt?
Our guest tonight is Kitty Whitehurst. She is a Tuscaloosa lawyer. She's been practicing for 25 years. She currently practices with her husband. But something interesting about Kitty is that she started off in this profession as a legal secretary.
Oh, that is
and then went to law school and then has been specializing in representing injured people, disabled folks for the past 25 years. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. I'm enjoying this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kitty, for coming tonight.
Sure.
And I always think that's interesting. We also had attorneys on who've started out as police officers.
Sure.
So it's not just, you don't have to start out as an attorney. There's lots of backgrounds that will prepare you for this type of work. And Kitty, how did you get into this type of, this area of the legal field?
Just working in a law office and became interested in the client's problems. A lot of them did have Social Security disability issues a long time ago when I was a legal secretary.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being here, Kitty. And we're going to go ahead and get to that first call on the lines tonight. That is Carol calling us from Cottondale. Carol, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing good. We're glad to hear from you and have you as our first caller tonight. Carol, what's your question?
I have two, actually. One is, how long do you have to wait before you can file for someone's rights to be terminated from being a parent? they kind of haven't been around in about a year or so. And then the other one is, how long do you have to wait before you can file for them for contempt for not paying their child support?
Well, this question is obviously a little bit off topic, a family law question. That's all right, though. We take lots of family law questions here on WVUA Law Call. Kitty, you want to take this one? Matt, who wants to take this one?
I warned Kitty before the show that she was going to take. She has a general practice that actually works in this area as well.
I would say that generally speaking, there's not any particular time limit that you have to meet in order to terminate someone's parental rights, which I think is what you're talking about, or to file a contempt petition. If it's a contempt petition for not paying child support, generally you would want to wait until they've missed at least one payment, which would probably be a month. But if someone has not been around for a very long time and they're not having contact with their children, then that may be an appropriate step to take. But you would want to talk to a lawyer about whether termination, that's a pretty harsh penalty for someone, and you might want to try some kind of middle ground before you went that far. But that might be an appropriate thing to do.
Who would make the determination as to whether or not you can keep custody of your children?
It would be one of the family court judges, one of the circuit judges here in Tuscaloosa County that specialize, or that's what the family court judges do. Judge Hamner, Judge Lisenby.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've had lots of family law attorneys and judges on our show,
Sure.
so we appreciate your call tonight, Carol, and we hope you get that situation resolved. Next up is John calling us from Tuscaloosa. John, how are you?
Fine. How about yourself?
Doing good. Glad to hear from you tonight. John, what's your question for Kitty and for Matt?
Matt, I enjoyed your show about the ECMs, the so-called black boxes up in Huntsville, okay?
Right.
And my question is, even after you jump through all the hoops and everything and your doctors send everything in, why is it that you end up generally having to go to an attorney, even though you're deserving of this, to get this stuff? Is that on the blocks this evening?
You're talking about Social Security disability benefits, why you have to go to a lawyer to get that started? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the rules are fairly complicated, and they do try to apply them fairly, but we generally see that between 70 and 80% of people who apply in Alabama are turned down the first time, and people find it fairly daunting to have to go through an administrative procedure that can take months or years by themselves without knowing the rules. So that's generally why once someone is denied the first time, they're probably more inclined to go talk to a lawyer about it, because like Terry said, it's a fairly complex procedure. It can go for administrative levels, and then it can even go into federal court if it has to. So you definitely want to talk to a lawyer.
And about how long, Kitty, does the process last? There is a long waiting period. It takes a long time. Right. How long is that, and why does it take so long?
Well, I'll answer your first question first. Generally, they try to do the first decision after your initial application within 2 or 3 months. Where people get frustrated, I think, is when they have to appeal that decision, and it can take anywhere from 6 months to nearly 2 years. The reason for that is, one reason is because there's a tremendous backlog of cases at the administrative levels. Most of the cases around here go through the Birmingham Office of Disability Adjudication and Review, and they have a tremendous load of cases and not very many judges to handle them. So that does take a long time.
And how do people tough it out when they can't work and they have to get through that long waiting period? What do people do?
It's really a tough situation for a lot of people. They have to depend on family, friends to help support them. Some people are fortunate enough to have either some short-term or some long-term disability from a former employer, but many people don't have that. And then they live off their savings. They do whatever they have to do to get by. It's a really tough situation for people.
All right. Next up is Liv calling us from Tuscaloosa. Liv, you are on the air. Go ahead with that question.
Hi. My husband became disabled in February, and I immediately applied for benefits, which he was awarded in June.
Wonderful.
He didn't have to do a reconsideration. We got him the first time out.
Great. That's wonderful.
Okay, and here's the thing. Now come to find out there's a 5 calendar month waiting period before he ever sees a check. So since he was disabled in the middle of February, his first month of getting a benefit would have been August 1st, and then they pay behind.